Hey everybody, I'm so glad you're here with me today. Anytime that I get to talk to a WEF or WEF Tech crew, I'm really excited. So thanks for being here. And I guess we'll just start by introducing yourselves. I always think it's funny how I just say, I assume everybody knows who I am. But I'm Charlie. I run the Empowering Brands company. We have a media brand called Empowering Pumps and Equipment. And we really like to be an advocate for the industry. So I'm going to turn it over to Jackie and let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jackie Gerald, and I'm president of the Board of Trustees for the Water Environment Federation, and very happy to be here.
Walt, you want to go next?
Charlotte Water as my day job.
You said you worked at Charlotte Water for your day job? Okay, I'm not sure if I knew all of that. Okay, so what is your role there again?
I'm the I'm the interim deputy director.
Awesome. All right, well, let's hear from you.
So I'm Walt Marlowe. I'm WEF's executive director, so I lead the staff under the direction of the board out of Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay, and Lynn?
Hi, Lynn Broadus. I'm based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm president-elect of WEF's board. And my day job is I have a consulting practice, goes under the banner of Broadview Collaborative, where I work on helping clients with sustainable water practices and strategies.
So we're in the midst of kind of passing the torch then over to you, Lynn. Is that what we're doing here?
Well, we'll do that in a couple of months, but it's all Jackie's for now.
Well, let's talk about talk about this great time that we're in and how you've responded. Great can be several different terms can be used, but you know, a significant event in our life with COVID-19 and how the water industry responded to that. Do you want to talk to that and kind of what WEF has done?
Yeah, Charlie, I'll jump in there. It's been interesting for me, of course. I only started in my role last September, so certainly coronavirus has changed what I anticipated my first year to be like. But I think coronavirus is really just an opportunity for WEF to continue to demonstrate the relevancy and value it brings to the industry. I mean, before coronavirus even happened, after MERS and SARS earlier, we've had technical committees looking at this kind of issue of pandemics. Our January issue of WE&T had a big article around pandemics. And I think our actions since the pandemic started really is to, increase the awareness of the water sector's, knowledge of what WEF has on this. And the knowledge you can get from us. So we've been putting attention on our publications. We've done a large series of new webinars. We've done a whole bunch of video interviews with folks, both dealing with the technical issues around coronavirus, but also the future business impacts that are going to come to the industry, whether you're in a utility, a consulting firm, or a manufacturer, equipment provider, solution provider. We've also tried to use social media to really help allay some of the public's concerns about wastewater, to remind them not to be causing us problems during this crisis with wipes. That's a never-ending problem for us. And just reminding them of the value of water and how water workers are at the front line of protecting their health. Imagine having hospitals or other places without clean water right now. It'd be amazing. We're also looking forward to, we formed a Blue Ribbon panel that's taking an additional look at worker safety concerns and looking at the issue of transmission of disease via wastewater, just to make sure that our existing best practices are still in step with the latest scientific information we have. Looking for that coming out shortly. And then we're really, really happy that we just added a chief medical officer position to WEF. Dr. Andrew Sanderson, who's affiliated with Howard University, is coming on board this month to lend medical expertise knowledge and public health knowledge to our committee and the efforts that we're doing at WEF. So we got a pretty well-rounded effort going on, and pretty proud of our ability to react very quickly and our members' willingness to share so much of their knowledge and time in trying to help their colleagues address the pandemic.
Yeah, I was so excited to see, you really had, a whole web page on it and we could go to and find out what the latest news was. And of course, all the time we talk about essential workers and how important the water industry is to our everyday lives. We love to say that it's vital to life around here, and all of the equipment and personnel and how to keep them safe. I can't imagine that, task that you had, but it just is a testament to what you said, that WEF is there, that we have knowledgeable people, and if we don't have the person that we need, we'll bring them in. And I think that's really great news to hear that. Jackie, do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, one thing I want to say is that the board is extremely proud of, being on the Board of Trustees and representing WEF, because of there's just so much good work that's going on that Walt is leading, and he has just taken us to another level, and with his leadership and working with his staff, and also with working with the volunteers and really identifying, helping to identify and encourage volunteers to share their expertise. So for example, on the Blue Ribbon panel, we just have a group of volunteers that is just extremely dedicated, and they had to do this very quickly in order to get information out to our members and to the water sector, because so many people are so concerned about, what are the safety hazards that we need to protect our front line and our workers. And I mean, it's getting done so quickly, and we'll see something in the middle of July, which is really great. I mean, they started at the end of April, so very quick. So I think that, that's something that's really important, but it's just, WEF has really tried to stay on the forefront because of what we believe in making sure we're protecting public health and the environment. So I think that, all the work has been really great, and we all appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, and talking about quick and what this time is for kind of our industry, WEFTech is a huge draw for people to come in and learn the knowledge that they need, for people to get together. And I think that the most important part of that is that you're continuing to keep those people together and keep that knowledge being shared out there. The name of this series is Knowledge Shared, and I think it's interesting how that term keeps coming up, even though it's across platforms and across industry. So tell me about WEF and making WEFTech a virtual event. I was happy to see it. I was happy to know that you were going to be innovative and figure this out. And I know it's also a huge task. We're in the midst of that with the Empowering Women Conference. So figuring out what to do, but you've done it. We're going to have a virtual event. Who wants to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll start with that, Charlie. I like that I forget what you just said was the name of this series, the Knowledge Shared.
Yeah.
Knowledge Shared, because what a perfect theme for WEFTech. I mean, that's what WEFTech is. And also tying it back to our core value around innovation. And we are definitely innovating and experimenting with this new WEFTech. And I will say that, the virtual WEFTech, which we're calling WEFTech Connect, how is it happening? I'll tell you, it's happening with a lot of hard work. It's sort of like with the response to other aspects of the coronavirus and pandemic. I've been so impressed with the work of the staff, and then all the hundreds of volunteers that help create the WEFTech that we've, the water sector as a whole has come to know as one of the premier events, and excited, that sort of highlight of their water year, getting to come to WEFTech. And so the decision to go fully virtual wasn't made lightly, but by the middle of June, we really kind of realized it's time to make a decision, because trying to plan for two different alternatives was just too much. And it was clear where the direction things were going in, and that we were not going to be able to have an in-person WEFTech that had the energy or the safety that we needed. So with this, we're calling this WEFTech Connect. It will, registration will become available in middle of July. And we're really excited about being able to create an event. While we can't be physically together, it'll be an event that provides much of what we all love about coming to WEFTech. It will have incredible opportunity with exhibitors and also opportunities to meet one-on-one with exhibitors, and obviously in a virtual context, be able to have conversations with them about one's needs. We'll have all the programming that we're used to in terms of the technical programming. Every single paper that would have been presented in the live in the in-person WEF Tech will be part of WEF Tech Connect. Some of it will be pre-recorded so that people can listen to it at any time, watch it and listen to it at any time. Some of it will be a live presentation where you can actually have a live conversation, at least chat back and forth with the Also looking to have some of those high energy, inspiring presentations that we're used to at WEF Tech, and including an exciting closing event, something that this is new. We would have had it in person if we had met in person, but we'll be having it in a virtual way. And we're looking to build in opportunities for conversation as well as small group networking, and those details. It's all an experiment, right? But we're excited about that. And I have to say that, while we can kind of put it in the context of, oh, it's a bummer we can't get together, but by having it as a fully virtual event, there are some things that we can do that we could never do in person. One of those is we're really hoping that without that, to travel to WEF Tech is a huge expense, both from a time perspective and actual dollars associated with the travel. A lot of people don't have the budgets to support that. We are hoping that at this much lower price point, and of course, because you don't have to pay for travel, and you don't have to take the time to travel, that a lot more people who normally can't afford to come to WEF Tech, that they'll be able to attend from all parts of the world. And we're also very excited that a lot of the content will be alive for a full year. And so I know I can never get to all the presentations I want to go to. This time I got no excuse. I can catch it anytime I want. So we're actually pretty excited about the WEF Tech Connect, and hoping that everybody, certainly all your audience and the entire water sector, will be able to join us for this event in October.
Yeah, I think it's so amazing to think about how many people we're going to reach, how the opportunity to be online and for the public value of nothing else, to see that this is happening, these conversations like we're having today, what is that going to look like in the future? And I think that right now we've really had to go on screen and try to say, okay, can we make a personal connection? Turn your video screens on, right? Like, let's actually talk to each other. This is our new way to connect. But in the midst of all of this, there's been some really hard conversations, from just the overall, fear of COVID, to what is this doing to our economy, to then going into, this social crisis, if you will, of trying to talk through and figure out how do we move forward in all of this chaos, right, and crisis that we're in. One thing particular that I love that WEF does is they have different task groups or committees, people that talk about bringing in diversity into the conversation. Last WEF Tech, I was blown away when I went to the opening speech, and we talked about how we were bringing people together of all cultures and backgrounds. And right now, while we're having the conversation for our Black community and what we can do, how can we help, I think WEF has a unique voice, and I can already see that you are moving in that direction of having the conversations. Does anybody kind of want to talk to that and what you are doing there in that capacity of sharing information?
Yes, so Charlie, we are, as you said, WEF, that's just kind of part of our fabric, is to always be, to look towards diversity, equity, inclusion, is just part of who we are as a community, as a WEF community. And, when you think about it, this is something that's important throughout our communities, throughout the world, really, that we look at gaining those different perspectives, understanding that we're all together, working together. And when you think about in the water sector, how important that is, because we are serving these communities everywhere. And, you know, one thing that's really, really important for the water sector to be able to really advance is to be able to reflect the communities that we live in and we serve. Certainly, we have to understand what those needs are. And if we don't understand the needs of the community, we can't really properly serve them. So one of the things that it's really important to WEF is to provide those tools and resources to members so that they can do that well. And we think about a lot of different things when it comes to that. I think about access to water. There's still places in the United States where water, clean water, is not accessible. And as you can think about with the coronavirus, that's pretty scary. Affordability is a big topic that we've talked about many times, and there's a lot of work that's been done looking at affordability and how we, again, make water, clean water, accessible. And then, of course, just looking at our workforce, again, reflecting back on our community and thinking about who is in our community and how we bring them into the workforce, because we should be building from our communities. And like you were talking about, there's a lot of programs that, you know, WEF has been working on, you know, through the last couple of years in particular. I know you saw the inflow program that we have that was at WEF Tech the last couple of years, where we brought university students from underrepresented groups and from universities that had not typically been at WEF Tech, to expose them to the water sector and expose them to careers in the water sector. And that has turned out to be such a positive and rewarding program. We have a wonderful relationship with Howard University through all of that, and we've seen several of their students now move into jobs in their first career job. And so that's really, really exciting. There's a lot of work that's going on with staff with the summer intern program. And then we're also working on making sure that we're looking at how we are providing a diverse group of participants in our Water Leadership Institute. And then, of course, you were talking about the DE&I task force. That has been an extremely, again, valuable effort. It was helping, the board really wanted to be able to understand where WEF needed to focus externally when it came to the workforce in respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we had two wonderful people, Carla Reed and Nikita Lingenfelter, who are both WEF members and volunteers, and they led this task force, and they provided us a number of recommendations. And they just had a host of water professionals from different aspects of the water profession, so operators, scientists, educators, to give a broad perspective on what some of those needs are out in our water workforce to help us move our workforce to be a more diverse and inclusive workforce. As you know, this past spring, the WEF board came out with a statement in June. And, you know, I felt personally very proud to be on the board and for us to come out with this statement, because I felt like it was very, very important that we do say what we believe in. And one of the things that, you know, when I was talking about the mission earlier and the vision is to create a community of empowered professionals, creating a healthy global water environment. That means that, you know, we do need to think about how we do that. How do we take that action? And I do believe, and I think that all of us on the board know that there is, you know, there are major issues with discrimination, with, you know, barriers, and sometimes, you know, really a lack of voice for Black Americans. And we want to be part of the action to make change. We want to see change take place. And it is very important to all of us as that we see, you know, the frustration that takes place because of that. And it just shouldn't be. It just should not be. And so WEF is very committed, and the WEF board is very committed to taking action going forward in order to help make change, to look at those inequities and to work towards change. So one of the things that we felt was very important was that we not only make the statement, but we follow it up with action. So I think you're going to see in the next month or so, you'll start to see some messages coming from WEF about some of the actions that we'll be taking going forward to start to break down some of these barriers and to start moving for change, and really for WEF to be a model for others. So it's just something that, like I said, our board is very proud and feels that is very important that we move forward with.
Well, I thought it was great, and it gave me chills. You know, anytime you're talking about empowering people, it gets to me. But to the point, I see, Walt, do you have something else you wanted to add there?
No, I mean, that's a pretty good summary. It needs to be part of our culture, and it needs to be part of the air we breathe every day, and have an ongoing commitment. You know, making a statement was great, but as Jackie said, it's what action are we going to take over this month and the coming months to really you know, move the needle on this issue.
Yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, and I might just add, Walt doesn't want to toot his own horn here, but you know, he's also been doing a lot of work internally with WEF's staff. We have you know, just trying to make sure that the Black staff that WEF has feels comfortable, has a voice, has a direct connection to him and a trusted connection with him, to help us as we take steps on that internal piece, as well as how we work with the sector as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that you know, shows that you do have to start with the people that are closest to you, having those conversations. And I think we all were like, what do we do to help? We were all really thinking about the workforce, and these programs and ideas aren't new to us. We were trying to get there. This allows us to have more open conversation and kind of took down a couple of walls, to be honest, to be able to talk about it, which I found just fascinating. Well, let's talk about the workforce a little bit more. I know that you have many programs, and you know, how are we going to make a better workforce, right? That's the question I've been asking. For me, I really saw that women could be, you know, fill some of those knowledge gaps, and so I focused on empowering women and what does that look like, educating that women you know, to be better leaders. But there's a lot of things we can do starting at a younger level too. You know, what is WEF doing as far as developing our future workforce?
So again, that's been a huge priority for WEF. And there's a lot of different ways that we are responding to the workforce. You know, you've been hearing about, for the last few years, about the issues with the number of people that are entering the workforce, people that are retiring from the workforce, and also the diversity or not diversity in the workforce. And so those are some of the aspects that WEF has been focusing on as well, is how can we bring more people into the workforce? How can we ensure that it is a diverse and inclusive workforce? You know, it just brings back the whole diversity issue again, but it's very, very important that we consider it again as we're reflecting on our communities. The other part of it is that one of the things that we're seeing is that the workforce is changing. A lot of times I think we think about workforce, when we think about the water workforce, we think about like scientists, technical staff, you know, engineering, those types of professions. And really, one of the major areas that we really need to look at is how we communicate and educate, how we advocate. And so the need for communication professionals, business and finance professionals, just others, I would say almost any profession is part of the water sector. And I think that's a message that needs to go out there to some of the younger people and telling them, this is a great area to have a career in. And you can be in almost any aspect, and still be part of the water sector. So that's something that I think is a little bit new in the past. And I've said this before, we've always kind of stayed behind the scenes and been kind of quiet about what we do and just kind of said, oh, well, we know we're taking care of the community. I think now, and I'm grateful for this, that we are stepping out and we're saying, look what we're doing. Here's how we protect the community. We need your help to fund this infrastructure. We want you to understand what we're doing because it is so important. So I think that that's something that's really changing. And I also think that with the pandemic, it's caused us to really think about how we work. And maybe that there are things that we need to do, advances in technology, and changes generally and organizationally how we do work. So there's a lot of resources, again, with WEF through the Utility Management Committee, through a lot of our other work that our volunteers are doing. Our staff has been doing a lot on the advocacy side for water workforce, looking at supporting our operators with their certification and training. We just had translated the operator manuals into Spanish, and also have a partnership with Nike. They were wanting to train operators in Asia and had the manuals translated into Mandarin. So the workforce is it's a worldwide, global issue and challenge. And again, as we broaden the advances in technology, where we start to build plants where we never had them before, new types of technology, we have to have the training too. And WEF is the best at training. So we need to, and we are continuing to move forward with all of that so that we can support the water workforce most effectively. So I don't know
I'm just hearing water's worth it in my mind, and it definitely is. And I also love that idea of getting that message, that storytelling, the marketer's aspect, if you will, in Hollywood. So I went to the Brave Blue World where I met you, Jackie, and I think that's what we have to do. We have to make it an attractive industry, but also educating people that we have the tools and the technologies through training that's out there. So we've talked about several different things about how you're taking on different challenges and really you're affecting change in a great way. Is there any other thing, I guess, that you wanted to touch on about what WEF is doing and overcoming or working to address in this space?
Well, yeah, there's so many things that WEF has its volunteers and staff have its fingers in so many different pots. But, maybe one kind of overarching theme for WEF, of which all these things fit in, is around sustainability and climate resiliency. And so we're very focused on, and people think of us tied to clean water and making sure that the water that is discharged from human use is clean as it goes back into the environment. But there's a lot of other pieces to that. We have resource shortages on essential nutrients that plants need, phosphorus and nitrogen. There's too much of it in the water, too little of it available for the plants that need it. So we're very focused also on resource recovery, whether that's through biosolids or phosphorus recovery, energy recovery from the wastewater. I mean, it's a huge, huge untapped resource. So those things all kind of fit together in under the umbrella of what WEF members and the professionals out in the water sector are working on. And so we, through our work on innovation and being able to kind of help create the glide path for continuous innovation and continually doing a better job in helping our communities be more resilient, that's certainly a big part for us. And then we also, have issues, and I put water reuse fits within that, because that's, of course, recovering water and not necessarily discharging it to the environment, but putting it straight back for human use. And then, of course, there are other ongoing concerns. And of course, emerging contaminants is a huge issue, whether that's microplastics or the whole category around the PFAS, PFOA, those sorts of things. I recently read the book Exposure, which is the book that precedes the movie Dark Waters, which many of us have read. And you just go like, oh my gosh, these you know. So there are, and you know, of course, our pharmaceuticals. I mean, the list is endless, and the role that the water sector can have, and our membership in particular can have in helping to find strategic ways to get ahead of those problems is really important, that are on the minds of us constantly. And then definitely, Jackie touched on affordability before, but how do we help our communities build right-sized, appropriate technology that isn't going to be impossible for them to maintain down the road, or keeping them from having to overbuild infrastructure that is maybe not necessary. And a lot of that is all in keeping and in concert with concepts around sustainability. Environmental sustainability goes hand in hand with financial sustainability for our communities. And I think it also just kind of circles back to why we want diversity in our workforce and in the communities we work with, because the more diverse, the more complete we have ability we have of sort of capturing and reflecting our communities, we're going to better reflect what the problems are in our communities and have better information about those challenges and how to solve them in a way that's good for our community. So you know, you can't pull these pieces apart. They're all part of that same challenge.
And you have some of the smartest people together in the water sector trying to figure these things out. And we want to recruit even more, right? So
yes.
Bringing people into the water sector. So pumps and equipment, y'all touched on that, and really the technology or the products that we need to kind of move water. That's a big audience there that would be maybe traveling to and exhibiting at WEFTEC, and I'm excited to see that and see how we're going to do that. But the main point of that is figuring out, you know, what makes sense in what community it makes sense to. So, you know, I have strong feelings about, you know, helping everyone have water, right? And that's why we loved working with you. I know that Gemmin for Water was one of the events where you all came together, and it did great work. It brought in actual money to help other organizations, or I'm trying to remember how that went exactly, but basically we voted on the funds, and it was just distributed out to help someone get clean water, or to have a resource with that. And being part of that one year as a sponsor, I saw that things were actually improving for that group of people, whoever that funding went to, whatever project that was, that it was creating real change. What do you have, I guess, lined up to continue that type of effort moving forward? I know that wasn't one of our kind of questions to go over, but is there anything that we're doing there?
No, I think, you know, we have ongoing efforts with that. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have some of the in-person things that we're used to seeing at WEFTEC, like Jammin' for Water. But we are going to have a virtual 5K event that the proceeds from that is going to go to Water for People this year. Right now, we've been selling some new T-shirts to recognize the value of our essential water workers. Jackie,
you have to stand up, Jackie, I think. Yeah.
You know, and the proceeds from that project are going to Operators Without Borders, which we have an ongoing relationship with.
Okay,
so,
good.
You know, I don't think being virtual is going to stop our ability, you know, to work with some of these organizations that really have the boots on the ground and are making a big difference for social causes, equity causes, and, you know, really hitting right to our vision of improving global health through better water. So I think that's going to continue. Plus, that doesn't even count the ones that are going on within all our member associations across the country and outside the U.S. too.
And we certainly hope Jammin' for Water will be back. Yeah, it's just taking a one-year hiatus, because that event, it creates community within WEF, and we have so much fun and then also raising money for great work out there.
Yeah, we have to appreciate all the things that we have as people, right? Our talents, such as musical talent, which we all get together, and just being a part of this community and interacting with everyone. And I just want to thank you for spending some time with me today. And I'll have to make everybody do this. So I'm gonna take a picture. So if you want to like smile or whatever, but I'm gonna take your picture. Thank you.